So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending one of many educational seminars that we have going with United Home Teams and with James Jan and Kachina from Corinthian Title. We truly believe in the power of teamwork, just like United Home Teams, and want to be a part of your success in the real estate business. And today we're going to go over some items that happens behind the scenes, but they are very, very important. And so for what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to read a preliminary title report. And really a preliminary title report has a few different things that you're going to want to look at right off the bat. And those of you that are taking a contract, for instance, right out of the gate, you can see that basically the escrow officer or you, the agent, could order a title report. We've identified the title officer and all of their information, a report number. It's going to go to an escrow, or that may be blank if in fact, we're just opening up a preliminary just so that you're getting all the information regarding the property. You'll see that there's a property address and a customer reference number. Now, I want to point out a couple things right out of the gate. If you can see that on Schedule A, that would be the next page, you can see that it will tell you who exactly is on the property and how it's vested. And the reason why this is something that you want to take a look at right away is sometimes you'll go out and you'll take a listing and you'll write out a contract, and you've got the husband and wife or the son and mom on there, and all of a sudden when we print out the prelim and it comes back to you and here's a third party on title. Okay. And sometimes we've seen this before, that families forget that they have quitclaimed somebody on it, maybe a spouse or maybe a sibling, when some poor health happened or whatever the case, and they forget that there's actually somebody else on title. Well, what that means to you as a listing agent is those people are going to need to be on the contract as well. Or we're going to have to do something to get rid of them so that your contract's legal. So without the right people that are in the vesting on the contract, you're going to have a problem. So right out of the gate, we're going to be able to show you if everything is going as planned with your transaction. The other thing too is, notice right here that we've got a basically a area of legal description, and then notice right here, Exhibit A. This is the actual legal description that you're going to have to know about in your contract. Okay, we've got automation out there. Don't get me wrong with the MLS, and you can put in an address, and typically it'll bring up some of this information. But you want to make double sure that the way that the legal description is on your contract as well. Okay, so that's our Schedule A. That's a really upfront, pretty easy to read, but it is very important. We're going to go now to Schedule B, and here's where we're going to have some exceptions, where we're going to have basically instructions of what we're going to do in order to be able to issue a title insurance policy. You can see that right here, basically on number 1, but it's really number 2, but taxes. We're showing what taxes have been paid and what the tax bill is. Now, that's not 100% true, that maybe it shows that it's paid here, but because the tax bill or what time of the year the taxes have gone out, it may show that it's paid for that half, but the second half or the first half of the following year may come down the pike, and we're going to have to pay those in escrow. You will find out about that with escrow instructions. The other thing too is that if there are any kind of liens on the property that need to be paid off, we're going to go ahead and actually show you that in this deed of trust. That would be the first thing that gets paid off. If there's any judgments on the property, not on the client yet, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but if there is, let's say, could be, let's say, an HOA lien, a mechanics lien, that might come right up on the Schedule B, and you're going to have to address that with your seller. Now, notice right here, we want to overemphasize something. It's called Statement of Information. Okay. And those of you that are seasoned real estate agents have probably had the Statement of Information affect your file in the last 11th hour. And the reason why is because basically that's a document that comes back to title, and we run a general index on the Social Security number. And plus, I want to point out that it's all parties. So buyers now on the buyer side and sellers on the seller side both have to fill out a Statement of Information. And let's go over that right now. So this is what a Statement of Information looks like. And many times we will get back this form when loan docs come back to us, escrow instructions come to us in the last minute, and now we've got to run all this information on your clients and make sure that they don't have any liens, child support, that kind of thing against them. It's very, very important, especially when you're dealing with people with common surnames, Smith, Jones, the Spanish surnames of whatever. You basically need to get them to fill this out very complete, because initially when we run a GI, we're running it off the person's name. And we'll come up with a lot of judgments. And for us to get rid of those judgments, we need to know who they are, where they lived, their occupations, so we can start picking off those judgments and make it really clean for your client. But in the 11th hour, we don't know that the guy had or the gal had child support from Arkansas, and all of a sudden here it comes up, and now we've got to get a demand. And the problem is that everyone wants to close the next day. So this Statement of Information page can be probably the most important document that your client can fill out up front. And we just want you to be able to say to your client, get ready for the Statement of Information. It will be in your escrow instructions. It will be in the preliminary title report. Please fill it out and get it back to escrow so escrow can forward it to title so we can run that GI a couple weeks prior to the close. Then you're not going to have any issues whatsoever. We'll be able to know what's up, and we'll be able to know how to tackle any issues then. We don't want to have to delay the close, but it's all about getting paperwork back to us. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to point out too is possible problems that we get with preliminary title reports. And really CC&Rs, there's usually not that many problems with CC&R, but easements, encroachments, trust deeds that are still sitting on the property that maybe a seller carried back on it, or another lender had not reconveyed it. Those are the kind of things that come up on a preliminary title report, and we're going to work due diligently to try to get those cleared off immediately with you and your client and your broker. The other thing too is we will have court order and judgments, and we will sometimes have bankruptcies, but that's really not that big of a problem as long as the court agrees that your client can sell the property. And that would be like in a Chapter 13 and even a Chapter 7. If it's not a completed Chapter 7, we're going to have to get a court order to let them sell that. The other thing too is, and this comes up every now and then, is a lis pendens. And that means that somebody has filed a lis pendens on the property saying we are going to sue. And that tells us, uh-oh, we need to make sure that what that lis pendens is all about, and if it is something that they can settle before we go through with the issuance of the insurance policy and completing the sale. Those are some of the kind of things that you need to look out for. It all starts with the preliminary title report. What we recommend is that you take a listing, you contact Kachina, and go ahead and open up a preliminary title report. I know we're not under a contract yet with escrow, but at least we can start working on any issues that may arrive on the property. Okay, so that's really it about preliminary title reports, but I wanted to point out one other thing. Why do you need title insurance? And this is a slide that I would invite all of you to go through and look at these 20 points. It's simple, but it makes a lot of sense of why you need title insurance for your seller and for your buyer. The other thing too is if you have any questions on title or escrow issues, you need to call Kachina. She's been in the business long enough to have seen pretty much everything come up that could go wrong, and we've got a great title staff with many years of experience that she can bounce off any problem that you may have. Even if we're not doing the title and you've got a question, she'll be able to answer it. I want to thank you all for the 20 minutes we've spent, and I look forward to helping you and educate you on other items in real estate. Thanks for your time.
Ed, may I ask a couple questions? I think this is great.
Sure.
Yeah, can you go back to the slide?
Okay.
Maybe go to the slide about section A.
Which one?
Go back, further back.
Further back?
Yeah, further back, please. One more, two more actually. Schedule A, actually. So for Schedule A, if it's a section, kind of like if we buy a condo, kind of like if a condo comes with a designated parking space, designated storage space, will be also identified here, like Schedule A.
Ask me again. I'm sorry, James. It was.
You say if a buyer buying a condo, so the condo, if in a condominium in the complex, they have a designated parking space, also designated like a storage space. Is those will be also identified here in the title? So,
chances are no. It will be in the CC&Rs or the bylaws of that complex.
okay, so it's not in here. It will be in the CC&R.
Yes, yeah, it would be in the CC&Rs, and typically that would be in the what do they call it? It's the documents that did get recorded when the condominium complex was built, but they wouldn't have a separate for that one condo lot of you get parking spot 2. It's going to be in the corporation papers, the HOA papers.
Okay, I see. That's great.
Yeah, that's a good question.
The second question would be in the this title policy.
Yes.
Is this policy just a default policy, or actually there's a choice for the seller or buyer? I know because kind of like when you do car insurance, you always have a policy. Like you can decide to buy what kind of coverage with different premium. I just wondering, most time we just wherever you guys put on the title report, we think there's a default one to be sufficient. So I just wanted to get one more step to understand: is there any option like a coverage choice for this policy?
You know, that's a great question, James. There is a choice. And I was going to put that slide up, and basically I can redo it with that slide. There's 2 different policies. There's an CLTA policy and there's an Alta homeowners policy. the CLTA policy is basically going to give you, probably a third of the coverage that the homeowner's Alta policy gives you. But you as a broker and your real estate agents are also covered on that more and more included policy. So unfortunately, when a lawsuit happens in real estate, everyone gets named in it. The thing about it is the CLTA policy would basically cover a buyer buying the property with all the conditions that we do with checking on it. But the Alta homeowners policy has so much more coverage for maybe less than 10% more. And I need to point out that on the car contract, it defaults to the Alta homeowners policy. So they have gone through enough of lawsuits and seen what needs to be covered that they're actually on the contract pushing the parties to use that better policy, or the more coverage, if you will.
So this auto policy is better, basically. It's a better policy.
Yes, the Alta homeowners policy is the one that I would always suggest having. And I'm not saying that because of premium. I'm saying it because it covers more things for you and your agent.
That's good to know that. So I have another question, would be for Schedule B.
Yes.
Next slide.
Okay.
For Schedule B, I know we have all the items list based on title search. Would be not covered by the policy, right? We're saying anything remaining here is not going to be covered by the policy later on. So when we, as a buyer, purchase a house with the finance, usually we have a lender. So lender will ensure there's a title clearance before funding. So
that's correct.
That's great. So there's a lender work on these, have an eye on these, making sure everything is done correctly.
That's correct.
So my question would be, if for a cash buyer, without lender to watch for them, so who will be responsible to make sure title clearance, make sure before we close the escrow? Because for us, like as real estate agent, we are not expert in title. We know a little bit about it. But as a title company, are you guys will be working on to ensure, even as without lender require that? So you guys work on to ensure all the title clearance before closing?
Yes, James, and that's also an excellent question. I need to point out that the homeowner's policy that the seller is actually paying for to ensure that the property is free and clear of all liens, encumbrances, loans, anything, encroachments, everything is on it's the benefit to the buyer, whether he's a cash buyer or a buyer that has a loan. It's all for the benefit of the buyer. The only reason why a buyer has to pay any kind of an insurance premium is the lender gets endorsed on the homeowner's policy. It's like the lender's the first guy that's putting out a lien, and he wants the same protection that the buyer gets. So the buyer is asked to pay his endorsement fee, or it's a concurrent escrow fee. But the coverage really is all about the home seller paying for his premium on behalf of the buyer. The buyer doesn't have to worry about it. It's the seller's insurance policy that's covering the buyer. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I understand that part. So my question would be, say here we have 7 items. So maybe 4 of them needed to be resolved before close escrow. Kind of like maybe 3 of them may be remaining, kind of like easement, kind of like CCNR. So now who will be the one to taking care, kind of like for quality control, to say this item need to be removed before closing escrow, before the because I know like typically with a lender, right? Lender say if you don't satisfy lender won't funding it, right? For the buyer, because if a cash buyer, they don't have that much knowledge I mean, they just know there's a policy, they might be found anyway by the closing day. So you guys who do your in-house quality control, ensure everything will be done before close escrow? That's my
all the exceptions have to be taken care of as a term or a condition for us to issue a title insurance policy. There's nothing left unchecked on a policy if somebody comes in and pays cash or has a loan.
I see. That's great.
It's the same. It's identical. Like I said, the only endorsement that a lender is going to want and that the buyer pays the premium for is basically having their name next to the buyer. That's all it is.
I see.
The same exact motions and quality control and making sure encroachments, everything, because we're issuing that insurance policy for the buyer, not the seller. The seller's paying for it, but it really is on behalf of the buyer.
I see.
So yeah, no, and there's really no difference. The set of eyes of a lender isn't going to change the difference of quality nor coverage for the buyer.
That's great. Mm-hmm. So I guess along this question, sometimes like people were asking, I understand why the seller need to fill this statement of information. Why buyer also need to fill one? Is another reason because we also do a title search on the buyer side to make sure there's no issues.
Yeah, we're now basically stepping up. It's now a practice in the industry. It's been going on for probably the last 4 years that we're running the buyer's information just because of the federal government wants us to make sure that there's nothing going on with the buyer and that there's a couple terminologies, but I'll say like money laundry and that kind of stuff that we're gonna make sure that the buyer is who they say they are. For that reason, we're almost kind of like the police out there, and we actually identify if a property does fit a specific condition and the buyer fits a certain profile. They actually, it's not like it's reported, but it's notated to the government. So you can't just go in and pay cash and unless you're going through escrow, and they'll accept cash, but most escrow companies won't accept cash. So,
I see.
Yeah. So they've really had to crack down on it. It's like if a buyer has got, let's say, child support back payments in LA County, and then and the attorney for the spouse went ahead and recorded the judgment in all the counties, and then we go ahead and run it on the buyer, let's say in San Diego, they're going to say, wait a minute, if you got the money to buy the house, why aren't you paying your child support? And then that would be a red flag. So
yeah, I see.
That's why. Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah, because often I also this question come to my mind. I do it anyway. But sometimes why buyer need to fill this form? So I was thinking about it.
Yeah,
it's great information to have.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just making sure that that person that is buying the property is who they say they are, and that they don't have, major stuff going on behind them that supersedes them spending the money for a home.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ed, for all this great information. I think this is a great presentation.
My pleasure, James. I look forward to doing this again with you. More of a straightforward, and I'll have that other slide in there to show the coverage differences, because it's on our website, but I've got a great slide that shows just the CLTA policy bullet points, and then the Alta homeowners policy. And most agents don't know that in the car contract, in your contract, when you sell a home, it defaults to it's got the verbiage, Alta homeowners policy.
Yeah, that'll be great. I would say they can even by itself to be a topic we can go next time. Just go to that policy, what's the reason. So we can go to a little in-depth to help our agent have a better understanding of the policy, because sometimes even our client come out questions. So we
Sure.
We have an answer ready for them. That's great.
Yeah, and you have to remember too, James, that we have all of this information on our website that a agent could go to our resources, click on the flyer, and actually have it in their presentation to say, here's why you're going to be paying title insurance. You know, be the educator to your seller, because most buyers don't really get into this, and then when they go to resell, they go, well, why is my premium so high? Why am I having to pay this money for? I haven't done anything. I bought the house and I got one loan and I paid it off, and I don't understand. Well, that flyer would easily be able to take care of any objections.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay, great. I think let's conclude today. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.